All right, ladies and gentlemen, another great week in the crypto markets. I say great, but it's been really, really choppy. Let's be real for one another. It's been absolutely wild ride, but we're joined here today with Matty Stella, all the way from the UK, our head technical analyst. And we're going to talk about what we're currently looking at in the market and why we think a rebound might be on the horizon, not so much in the short term, but why we think it's coming soon. We're also going to talk about some altcoins that we're definitely keeping on our radar and some really important fundamentals of some new coins that are about to launch and how we may be able to get in on some opportunities of the ecosystem tokens of that particular coin before the market takes off. But before we start, guys, make sure if you haven't yet already, hit subscribe and smash that like button. We go live every single Friday, except for last Friday, to give you guys all the crypto alpha that we can and live analysis for you guys to more or less help you. Before we start, just remember that nothing that you see on this call is financial advice. It's all from an educational purpose. Never invest more than you can afford to lose. So, Matty, let's get stuck into it. First off, let's talk a little bit about Bitcoin because there was some big things that happened this week in the crypto market. And the first thing that we saw was Jerome Powell the other night came out and said that they are officially cutting the interest rates by 25 basis points. And historically, that has been a bullish catalyst in the market. But looking at the charts today, it doesn't look like it was such a bullish catalyst. So what are your thoughts on that, mate?
Mate, the charts, and welcome everyone, the charts were telling me a completely different story. I mean, I was monitoring this like an absolute hawk on socials, posting an empire, and I actually did multiple reels upon this. I was sharing this the entire time. Oh, Ceddia, you there? Sorry.
Yeah, I'm listening. Yeah.
Sorry, I thought I lost you for a second. No, so I was watching this the entire time, and particularly on the charts themselves, because the charts were telling a completely different story. Everyone's like, rate cuts are coming, that's it, market's going up. And I was looking at the charts and going, it's telling me a completely different scenario. So I went through that, I shared it, and I said, look, we had this nice double bottom formation break. We had the high push to the $116,800 mark, pulled all the way back. And I went through the analysis and I said, hey, I'm waiting for this daily candle. And this daily candle was on Wednesday to be exact. I was waiting for that to close, and it ended up closing below the neckline, which essentially trapped Bitcoin. And it trapped it around the 109,900 mark. And from there, I said, there's no hope in hell. I'm going in a long position until we get some clear confirmation, because right now we are trapped, and we're trapped between about 110,000 and 107,500.
Show us your screen. Show us what you were looking at. So I've just flipped it over to your chart.
I've got it up. Can you see my screen on your end?
We can. Yes.
All right. So this is what I'm talking to you guys. You can see here we had this big breakout occur. We punched all the way back up to around that $117,000 mark. Also the 618 Fibonacci level here. Now, this is where a lot of people start to FOMO into the market. They look at it, they go, that's it, we're running back up. Going back to 124,000. And it's like, you've got to look at it from an objective standpoint. Look to the left, price here has been rejected multiple times. Now, what's the likelihood of it happening again? In my opinion, I thought it was quite high. It's a 618 level, typically rejects. I then said, I've got to watch this level, this double bottom neckline. I've marked this out with the X. It's also
what price is that, Matty?
111,000.
Yeah,
111,000, that one there, right? Now, this here doesn't hold. At the moment, now this is off my own personal experiences. Now, the moment this doesn't hold, it starts to get very difficult. It can signal, in my respect, further bearish action, because then price essentially gets trapped below that level and needs to break out again. So it requires a lot more buying power, a lot more momentum to push through. What happened over the last night and into today, we had this large fluctuation. Price dips all the way back down to 106,000. And now we're essentially trapped. And you can see I've marked this out here. And I marked it out yesterday. The moment we closed below there, I'm like, that's it. Bitcoin's trapped once again. And said, I won't lie, I am a little bit worried on that front. But I know we've got some alpha to share around that. So I think that's enough of the charts for now. Let's jump into some alpha and see how we match it up together.
Just before we do, man, it's just a very common occurrence in this crypto market that every time we have a high, the market comes up, sweeps that high, fills those shorts, and then smacks it straight back down. So just on what you're saying, it just wouldn't surprise me if we just, we did turn around and we came down for one last sweep, just to sweep out this low before potentially looking at, heading back up. So No, you're right. And we'll get a bit more into the alpha though, because right now, what we saw, one of the reasons why we actually saw this big dump was there was a massive CME gap that was created over the weekend. And for those of you who are new, who are unsure what a CME gap is, it's when the market pumps over the weekend, when the traditional stock market isn't open. What that usually causes is a gap in the chart, which means that on the Friday, price ended up here at this level, but then coming into Monday, when the markets opened back up, it was all the way up here because obviously crypto trades 24/7 throughout the weekends. But on the US stock market, they don't exactly have access until the Monday. And that usually causes what we call a gap. Now, 9 out of 10, you know what? 9.5 out of 10 gaps usually get filled. And when we say they get filled, what that means is price will come down, it'll retrace, and basically where there was a gap in the price, it'll later come in and put candles there to more or less fill in that gap. And we did see that happened. We did see that nice pullback down to 110. We did dip a little bit below that 110. But what is one of the
Seth, I want to
catalysts
touch base on this piece as well once you're done here, just as an FYI.
on this on the gap? Go for it, mate. Your
So
screen's
on
being
this
shared.
gap here, I spoke about this on Monday night because what typically happens is that Sunday night volatility comes in, right? People get FOMO, the market moves unexpectedly, and the market's moving off low liquidity, meaning there's not much participation in the market. No big institutions open around that time. It's mainly retail activity. Now, we saw that CME gap form straight away. It was the first thing I punched out on Monday, and I said, guys, do we really think, and this is not me being rude by any means, but I like to call it the weekend warriors, right? The weekend warriors come in trading on the weekend, they punch the price up all of a sudden, and it's like, mate, the US has not even played in this game, and all of a sudden Bitcoin is up $3,000 or $4,000 compared to where it closed on Friday. It just doesn't happen. Realistically, we know this in ourselves. The US dictates a hell of a lot of the market. If the price of Bitcoin is closing out, say, at what it did at 109,000 on the Friday, and then all of a sudden by come Monday, price is sitting at 112,000, that's a big discrepancy. There's a high probability that they're going to come back and sweep those lows. And they did that exactly.
Exactly right. And, a lot of this is also based on the fact that we did have the FOMC meeting. Now, the thing is, you go on Twitter and you see everyone come out and say rate cuts are bullish, this, that, and the other. It's going to send Bitcoin to the moon. The thing is that the initial instance of that rate cut being, rate cut happening is usually bearish. The reason for that is because the Federal Reserve, they go and cut interest rates because the economy is in trouble and they need to stimulate the economy. Okay. So, whilst not long after the rates are cut, borrowing for money, go to the bank, you can get money for much cheaper. That later occurs within, probably about a week from what we've seen based on previous data. Okay. So, usually you get that rate cut, there's a week of bearish momentum. Then, after that, money becomes cheaper, people start borrowing more money, and then, yes, it can then fluctuate or then basically come back straight into some markets. Now, if we go back and we have a look at the last 3 FOMC meetings, and we can see my computer's just lagging here a little bit. If we go back and have a look at the last 3 FOMC meetings, what you'll see is that there was a 6 to 8% drop in Bitcoin. But then as soon as that corrected and as soon as that week basically was done and done for, we then went ahead to make new all-time highs after each and every single one of those FOMC meetings. So if you have a look, we started at about 112,000 when the FOMC meeting did take place. And how much percent are we down so far from that FOMC? If we go to 112, it was about here-ish, we'd call it around here. We did already drop about 6%, but if we do come down another couple of percent, sometimes it does come down to about 8%. I'm just making sure that, I'm not going to get liquidated if we do start to see those levels. So, yeah, just keep in mind that rate cuts are quite bullish, but they just don't take place straight away. It is one of those things that does take a little bit of time to more or less happen. But, going into other news, we basically got all we wanted. The market heard what the market needs to hear. 2 weeks ago, we wanted rate cuts, which is bullish. We needed Trump to do the US-China deal, which was the initial reason, apparently, while the market dumped. Wherefore, I just think it was a planned, coordinated attack to flush everyone. And, a bit of conspiracy theory there. We wanted quantitative tightening to end, and we're going to get into what quantitative tightening is. And we also wanted altcoin staking ETF approvals. Now, if we have a look at the market today, we more or less got all of that. we got the Fed rate cut on Thursday. Bearish. We got the US-China deal that was discussed upon last night. QT is now being ended. And if we look at the difference of QT and QE, so for starters, before I get into that, if you want to learn what QT and QE are, there's a full course in the Empire platform. It goes for like 4 hours. You can click on the link in the bio below. It'll take you straight in there. You can watch that. But essentially, quantitative tightening is when the Fed is tightening their balance sheet. What we usually see during QT is altcoin seasons, they don't really happen. We don't see the big alt season during QT. But then when a Fed turns around and they pivot and they say we're doing quantitative easing, that's when they start to ease their monetary spending. They start to accumulate more. More money goes into the markets. When that happens, that is when we have historically seen the very big runs within the market. So if we have a look here at the last FOMC meeting, Jerome Powell came out and said, he goes, hey, we're going to end quantitative tightening and it's going to end on December the 1st. And you probably see a lot of people on YouTube, a lot of people on X saying, that's it, we're going to be bullish for September. And whilst it may bring in some buying pressure, I still don't think that this is the massive catalyst for the market to go up just yet. And one of the reasons for that is that there's like a buffer period, okay? So there's a bit of a buffer period before quantitative easing begins. So here's a good example. This happened over COVID. And COVID was a time when, the world was in panic. Businesses were shutting down left, right, and center. Everyone was locked down. So it was probably one of the most important times that the world needed stimulus. And still at that time, it took months to be delivered. So the Fed entered QT, quantitative tightening, in October 2019. Once that happened, altcoins dropped 42%. They only started pumping once the Fed started QE in March 2020. But what's interesting is that the S&P 500 rallied during this time period. This shows that QT alone isn't enough for alts to rally, but they just need liquidity. They need money to come in. You think about this last run that we had, all the liquidity was sucked up by meme coins and all different things. That was so many meme coins. Pump.fun went nuts. Either the Fed needs to start QE or the Treasury needs to release the TGA liquidity into the economy. The first scenario is highly unlikely to happen soon, and the second one will only happen once the US government shutdown ends. So we need to see that US government shutdown end. And here's just some previous data that we need to look at. This is the total crypto the total crypto market cap minus Bitcoin. So this shows essentially how much money is in altcoins at a given time. And you can see that as soon as QT ended, we got a little bit of a pump. People got excited. They more or less just got trapped. The market then dumped. We hit a low of negative 42%. I don't think it's going to be negative 42% in this day and age, given the fact that the market's a bit more mature. But then as soon as QE started, bang, the market just absolutely took off and ripped like a rocket. And essentially, what we're basically doing right now is just sitting on our hands and waiting for QE. Right, Matty?
Everyone's waiting for the QE. Everyone's waiting for the big altcoin season to come in. They're all hoping for it anyway. The hope is very, very strong.
I want to see that altcoin season, 100%. The Federal Reserve.
I've got to show a chart about this, because this one here is what the crypto total market cap excluding Bitcoin. I want to show the team and people watching the others chart. This one here goes a little bit deeper with the altcoins.
We've lost your screen.
This one here
we've lost your screen.
How have you lost my screen? It's still up. I can still see it.
It's back up. There we go. Yeah, you're back on.
Back? We're good?
Yeah.
Don't know why that is. All right. Well, look, I'm looking at this. This is called the others chart for those guys that want to put on their watch list, right? It excludes the top 10 top 10 tokens in the entire crypto market. So Bitcoin, XRP, USDT, all that. Those top 10 are all removed from the equation. I've been monitoring this for a fair while. Every Monday, I have a look at it, and I've been monitoring this big bear flag that is in effect on the others chart. If you look at this on the weekly time frame, it makes it a little bit easier to see. I'm focused on this section here from November 25th, 2024 till now, and this is the part that started to get me concerned. You can see how we're starting to break below that trend. Right now, you switch this to the daily time frame, it looks even a little bit more bleak. We're now actually starting to trend below in a more consistent manner. I thought maybe the double bottom might give us some hope. That broke below. Right now, we're holding this order zone around $250 billion $250 billion. But the scary factor here for the altcoin market, and this is the part I don't like, because obviously I don't want to see people get wrecked by any means. But if we start to close below this midpoint range here at around 243-ish, 241, and then it opens the segue for about a 17% drop on the others chart, that'll dramatically rip the altcoins
Oh,
down,
that'll leave them. That'll rip them
unfortunately.
for shreds. That'll rip them to
It
shreds.
will
So what
rip them
level are we
to
watching?
shreds. But I don't want that. I definitely don't. But you said, you know what my concern is here? Is we had this really deep drop in the market. We know there was a bunch of other stuff behind this, API connections, etc. But you look at
Yeah.
this, we've got death crosses starting to occur on the 200 and the 50. And I really do believe from a Bitcoin standpoint, I think we're going to go back and revisit that wick that was at 102,000. And I think it's all one big catalyst for that, that big capitulation event before we have the final factor of, quantitative easy comes in, 6 months of relief, by the time the cash flow actually runs into the market, and then we pump from there on out.
Yeah, well,
That'll
it's
be
one
the
of
ideal
those things.
scenario.
It's one of those things, yeah. The big guys, the market makers, they want us to feel like the bull market's over and that it's finished before we start to see a bounce. They want to basically scare everyone into selling all of their positions so that they can go ahead and accumulate them before we run it. And if you do look at when we hit that $101,000 that day when we did have that big shakeout, what did we see? We saw everyone, the fear and greed index was at extreme fear. We saw everyone saying, oh, that's it, bull market's over. That's it, it's ended. It was nice knowing you. Some of the biggest analysts on X, they all had something to say. But guys, if you are enjoying this content so far, please smash that like button, hit subscribe if you want to see more alpha like this, and make sure your notification bell's on because we go live every single Friday except last one. Okay, so Federal Reserve is collapsing, and what we're going to soon expect is aggressive QE and money printing to begin soon. But like I said earlier, that doesn't mean next week. It means more or less that we have to wait to see when that comes in. It could be a couple of months. I think on average, it is about a 3 to 6 month period. Is that what you were saying to me earlier, Matty?
Yeah, so basically what I experienced myself and from learning economics and that factor, it takes 6 to 12 months for the quantitative easing actually to take effect. Say you cut interest rates today, that effect truly won't be felt within the market for say 6 months time later down the track. That also works if you're increasing interest rates, right? You're not going to have that immediate effect on everyone. It's going to take time to ease into the market. So although they're cutting rates now, then you're probably going to see that, in my opinion, towards the front end of next year, February, March sort of period, we come back from holidays, that sort of situation, and into the new year. So that's my sort of expectation moving forward is come February and March, then some of this relief will start to come through. My question remains, Seth, and this is where you can probably chime in a little bit more, is how is this going to go, say, come December? Are they going to cut rates again? Because there's no guarantee of them cutting rates again just yet. So I'm interested to see
No.
also come into next year where they're going to stem on from there.
Well, I think it'll be Jerome Powell's last chance to do it as well because he might be getting the sack or his period's coming to an end. But, we'll look at that in 2 seconds because you're right. Like you can see here on this chart, QT ended July 2019 and QE didn't start until the mid of March. And that was at a time during COVID when the world was, flipped upside down. Everything was really bad within that period. So even during that, it still took a good 6 months. So I still think that, there is probably a high probability of a bit more chop. But on to what you just said, it's true. Powell essentially came out and threatened Trump. He came out and said at this last meeting, he goes, there is no help coming, more or less, saying that he's done his cuts now and that don't bet on another cut coming into December. But you know what? I want to have a look on the FedWatch tool because, if we go back and we have a look, historically, he has said things like this before and he has still come out and given us another rate cut. You can see the next rate cut is scheduled for 40 days from now, but still, just gauging off the data, even though he said that, there's still a 66.8% chance that we are still going to get the further rate cuts. So I'm not going to completely rule it out just yet. Yeah, the signs are there that it's not looking positive, no doubt about that, but I'm not going to rule that out because this is still one of the biggest bullish catalysts, to happen for the crypto market. And I just think in the meantime, between now and then, it's just going to be like this, right? We're just going to continuously just see the.
It's just the volatility, right? It is the volatility that has people worried at the moment, the uncertainty. I mean, I saw it again on X. Some other influencers put out his thing, that's it. I've sold everything. I just can't handle this anymore. It's been fun, but I'm checking out. It's no more. I'm going to do something else. But I look at it and I go, it's really much a trader's environment at the moment, right?
It's a
I
get
mean,
in, get out.
I you get in, get out. I mean, I'm doing the same thing. Even altcoins, I'm like, I'll buy in, but mate, I'll get out just as fast because I'm like, if I can capture like my 5-10% at a time, I'm happy. Move on to the next one. What else is out there? If I can get an early play on like an early release token, we spoke about Avicii earlier in the week. That was had a $10 million market cap when we found it. And that pumped to about 28, $30 million market cap. I mean, you've doubled your money, right? Like
It's more
happy
of a
days,
take it
move
and
on to
run.
the next one.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it is.
take it and run situation at the moment.
Yeah, it's not a hodler's environment right now. That's one thing. And if you do want to get access to calls like what Maddie shared on Avicii, make sure to check out the link in our bio to jump into Empire. So we're looking at this chart here, the Wall Street cheat sheet, right? It is a lot like this right now. It's like we've gone from capitulation to anger, a little bit of hopium and depression, deeper depression, recta, and then it's gotten to the point where I don't even know how to pronounce this, but I think it's a Cretaceous Paleogene extinction event, and you know what?
I feel like that's when the dinosaurs got extinct. I don't know what it means exactly, but that's what I'm putting my money on.
But look, there is still some hope in the market. So one, we know that we want to wait for quantitative easing. So we're going to be keeping our eyes out and updating you guys weekly in this YouTube channel. So make sure you have make sure you have hit the subscribe button. But it's not all dangerous just yet. We can still see that Bitcoin has approached the 50-week moving average multiple times throughout this bull market. It has come down, tested it, and bounce straight back off, more or less what we're calling the Bitcoin bull market support. So it really is right now eyes on that 50-week EML moving average. You can see right now it's looking at it's around 102,800. And Maddie, that actually lines up perfectly with what you were saying earlier of around that 110K mark. Just wouldn't be surprised if it did sneak a cheeky little wick down below as it has prior, but still reclaimed it by the end of the week. So that's what we are really carefully looking out for right now. And you can see that on the liquidation heat map, there is just so many shorts to wipe out. We did wipe out quite a large amount of them. This is now all gone, but there is still a fat level sitting right above price right now. So a nice sweep down to 105K. I just can't put it aside right now. I think it's still very, very possible. The market maker will come and take shorts. They have taken shorts before in the past. There's a high probability, I don't say they will, but there's a very high probability that they'll come down and smack out all of those shorts before then targeting the upside liquidity. And just, looking at that upside liquidity, you can see there's a lot sitting at around that, $117,000, $118,000 mark. But if you're looking down underneath that, there isn't really anything. So the nearest liquidity is at that 104K. It's just a lot easier to go down and grab that. Let more people stack up short positions. Let them think the bull market's over. Allow more liquidity to build up within this region before then swinging it around and taking out all that liquidity, right?
Yep. Agree. I look at this very similar, and I look at the total chart, right? The total chart at the moment, we've broken that long-term trend line.
I'll
Seds,
share
if
the
you want to
screen
bring
for
up
you.
my
Yeah.
screen,
Yep. Go for
I'll
it.
show you guys what I'm looking at here. So you can see here, we've got the long-term trend line. This is from April 2025. This is on the daily time frame. You can see this represents the overall market cap of cryptocurrency, right? The total value around $4.4 trillion. We'll round it off. We've actually broken that trend, and we're doing our best at the moment to really hold around this $3.5 trillion mark. And really easily, you look at this on the weekly time frame, you can see we are doing our absolute best at the moment to hold this level. A lot of liquidity gaps at the bottom. But similar to what we're seeing on Bitcoin sets, if we do go down and sweep, it's going to bring it back towards that 50 EMA on the weekly time frame. And that's what has been holding since October 2023, essentially. So that there again lines up. When you look at it from a confluence perspective, what you're talking about, what I'm seeing, and also what we're seeing on Bitcoin is, do we go ahead and sweep those lows first before any further bullish action?
I think the best way to do it is always prepare for the worst, right? Like I see a lot of traders
Yes.
out there that love trading leverage, and whilst leverage, it can definitely add on additional risk to your trading, they'll sit there and they'll say, oh, well, I'll just, have my liquidation point at 102. But knowing that we could sweep that low below that 50-week moving average coming below the $100,000 mark. But imagine we dipped below 100K, even if it was for like an hour. Imagine the posts on X. It would go nuts. Bull market's over. That's it. We're finished. Pack it up
Wrap
this
it
year.
up. Time to get a job at McDonald's.
It would, and that would, yeah, the McDonald's posts have already started to come out. And that would induce that fear that everyone, is looking for, or the big guys are looking for, to say, all right, retailer out, let's pump it back up and let's wait for them to FOMO back in, So those big shakes are needed. I genuinely thought we got that big shake when we hit that 101K, when we had that big market correction. But there is still possibility. So, if you are trading leverage, this is not advice by any means, shape, or form, but it's just be smart about it. Don't set yourselves really tight liquidation points. Allow yourself to have room to breathe. Because if we do come and get to that point, you don't want to get caught up in it. We've seen people get caught up in it so many times. Just don't be as greedy. Use smaller positions, and that's it. You'll be fine. You don't need to go 100x long on everything unless your name's Crypto Scarface in the chat. He loves 125x logs.
But wait, I saw some of the guys doing 150x leverage last night.
It's crazy. It's a lot. It's too much.
Look, the thing is, right, I look at the market at the moment, and I mean, said, my style, and for the community, they know my style is very much, set my trades, go to bed, let them do their things, don't need high leverage, don't need anything like that. But at the moment, I don't even feel comfortable opening up positions, letting them run overnight because of how volatile the market is. I could be in and out of profit bloody 5 or 10 times before I even wake up. So I understand the scalping mechanism right now. I think it's gold. I think if you can scalp in the current environment, mate, 1%, 2%, 3% price swings, they're quite regular. Might as well take advantage of it if you can, and obviously learn how to do it safely, etc. We don't want anyone going out there just sending their account balances on bloody high leverage. Be smart about it.
Where can they learn that, Matty?
Interesting in... Right, mate. Empire, jump on. We do live calls 3 times a day. Carlin is on there. Crypto Scarface there is 3 times a day. Asia
He's
session,
scalping
London
3
session,
times a day live. Yeah, with the community.
Together.
They're killing it. They're killing it. I've seen them. They've been smashing it, man.
It's exactly what it's all about. Jump in there, jump in the trenches together, have fun, smash it out, get some wins on the board. If not, learn what you did wrong and start again and give it a red hot shot. So
that's right.
But it's very interesting in the market at the moment. I'm very, I'm really risk adverse in that aspect. I like to protect my capital. And sometimes if you gotta sit on your hands, you've got to sit on your hands and be smart about it. There's no point chasing things just for the sake of it. I mean, the US 500 is pumping. I look at that from an optimistic standpoint. The US 500 is absolutely ripping off its skin at the moment. It's going absolutely ballistic, but Bitcoin is just not there just yet.
Another historic thing is, and I spoke about this on my live stream on Tuesday with the community, was that usually the market rotation goes from gold pumping. So if you bring up the gold chart real quick, right, and you can see that over the last couple of weeks, gold absolutely ripped. But then once gold starts to pull back, money starts to flow into stocks, because stocks are like the oldest type of investment, right? Crypto's still new, and a lot of people are still very, on the fence about crypto. So it'll go from gold into stocks, and then once stocks start to perform quite heavily, what you find is money starts to then go into more riskier assets like crypto. Think of it like this: if you're a crypto trader, right? You buy Bitcoin first. Bitcoin goes up, you're like, what else is there? You start to hear about Ethereum. You're like, all right, some of these altcoins. You jump into a little bit of Ethereum, XRP, you make a little bit of money there. And then you turn around and you say, what's next? And then you start degenning into, the more higher risk meme coins or altcoins, things that haven't exactly yet proven. But you're doing that with profits that you've earned. Yeah, so you're just like, I'm happy to increase my risk tolerance because I've made money on other things. You go from a market environment where everyone just got wrecked, right? And gold finally just pumped, to a place where we move into more other stocks, and then we go from Matty, what have you done, man? You there?
Not sure what happened there. My phone was sitting on the thing.
It just cut out. We just cut off. So you go from, what I was saying was, you go from gold, which is the old school, store of reserve, one of the most safest assets in the world. Still got risk to it, but safest, they call it. From there, you go into your stocks, which are like your blue chips. You might get some Nvidia, you might get some Apple, whatever, however that looks. But then from there, where do you go? You start looking into crypto, right? So let me just take back over the screen here. Now, one of the biggest catalysts that we're waiting for is for Xi Jinping and Donald Trump to finally make an agreement for the trade war. And apparently they did have a meeting, and it did last for less than 2 hours. It was an hour and a half. There wasn't any media in there. It was a very kind of, concealed environment just between them and the government officials. But we haven't exactly heard if there is an agreement that's come out. Now, earlier this week, I spoke about it in Empire, and I told the community about how there is a high chance that a deal is going to be done. How many times has Trump threatened things? It's then, he's put the worst case scenario out on the table. He's then come together with a deal. It's all been sorted. And then from there, the markets have rallied. I don't think this is going to be any different. We are seeing the very early signs of a deal being created. Scott Bessent, Treasury Secretary, came out and said that there's a very high chance that something is going to be done and that tariffs should be off the table. But we are still waiting, and I'm expecting potentially within the next 7 days that we are going to hear more about this, and a deal could more or less be very much closer, if not completely done by then, and that will also serve as a bullish catalyst. But will we see that massive alt season? I'm still thinking we're waiting for QE to still see that massive run. Let's talk a bit about altcoins. Let us know in the chat if you've enjoyed this video so far. If you have, make sure to smash that like button and hit subscribe so you can tune in with us every single Friday. So who wants to see some altcoins? I want to see in the chat, which altcoins do you want us to look at? We got a couple that we want to share. I'm not seeing anything come through the chat just yet, but I do know that we are 10 seconds delayed here on YouTube. Just looking at the chat, you can see Edward Rogers, XRP is shit. No comment. I do agree, but that was still a comment.
Hey, there's a bit
Everyone's
of a battle
saying,
going on right now between Solana and XRP, with Western Union signing on with Solana. Have you seen the comments going wild? Oh.
I have, but Matty, that isn't the competition. There is no way XRP is going to make a higher price than Solana, my personal opinion. But let's talk about the first altcoin that's currently on the list, and that is Zcash. Arthur Hayes, a very well-respected crypto enthusiast, the co-founder of BitMEX Exchange. If you're a crypto OG and you've been around for long enough, you'll know that exchange, the first one that introduced leverage we all got wrecked on. Zcash, one of crypto's oldest privacy coins, is starting to run quite heavily. Now, from a fundamental aspect, I see that this is going from the backbone of multiple countries starting to introduce things like digital ID, which we all don't want, let's be honest. And that's basically going to make everything that we do transparent. The government can see what we've bought. There's rumors that if you buy meat, that it'll go against your carbon score allowance and all that kind of shit, which nobody wants to see. And because of that, people are starting to move money into things like Zcash, where it is completely private and not transparent for the privacy reasons. So we are seeing a bit of an influx in privacy coins right now. Arthur Hayes has come out and said Zcash to $10,000. That also came out and sparked a lot of crypto enthusiasm, because he was also the one that predicted a very high price for Hyperliquid. Hyperliquid went to $40. He's now out here talking about Zcash. Now, me and Matty were talking about this before the call. And he goes, bro, what'd you say, Matty? Tell him what you said. You said, what'd you say about the $10,000 target?
I said there is a very unlikely and very what's the best word? Bullshit opportunity that's going to go to 10 grand.
So,
right,
Zcash,
and we crunched the numbers.
We
crunched
did
the numbers.
All right. So, looking at Zcash, there is a couple of important things that people need to understand. Okay. Right now, you can see the circulating supply of Zcash, and the maximum supply is the same amount of Bitcoin. Okay, when Bitcoin was at $300, I bet you none of you will turn around saying it's going to go to 100K. Okay, the thing is because there's a very, very low supply of coins. When people buy and sell this token, the price fluctuates really, really fast. On my live call on Tuesday, I shared some information about Zcash, and right now 35% of the entire supply has been taken off exchanges and is being locked in some kind of vault, right? So if you look at that, you say, okay, right now on the exchange, there's probably about 12 million tokens available. How many people are in this world? How many people are in the UK, like you, Maddie, who's currently getting threatened by digital ID, like us here in Australia, where we think that could be something next? There will be a time where people want to move into something more private, right? And that's why we're seeing Zcash move. The fact that 35% of the supply is off the market, leaving only 12 million coins, it's massive because if you look at Bitcoin as a perfect example, Bitcoin has, and obviously is the the grandfather of the crypto market. So I'm not saying it's going to match the price of Bitcoin, but there's 19 million Bitcoin tokens, and we're sitting at $100,000. To see Zcash run to at least $1,000, okay, let's be realistic for the short term.
I think that's
I,
I think that's reasonable.
I don't see that as unreasonable, at all. But I think $1,000 could be a really, really good start for Zcash. Let's tick off that box first before we then go and aim for the 10,000. But I personally think, because it's such a low supply, all it takes is a little bit of volume to come in, and this thing can really, really run. Now, look at 24-hour volume.
Let me give you some numbers here, Seds,
Okay,
on price. Let me give you some numbers
let
on
me share your
price before we
screen.
jump into volume, right? I'm
All
going
right.
to show you guys this one. Because I've been monitoring this. I haven't traded this. Full transparency, I have not traded this. But I'll give you some numbers on this and what I'm looking at. We have pumped from $51, basically at the start of, say, October, end of September. We're currently up 630%, 811%, sorry. I lied.
Jesus.
I was bouncing off this one, right? 629% to be exact there. Now, I've got targets matched out, and each one of these targets have bounced. And I ran these fibs once we punched up here. You can see we held here at 230 and have thrown the next leg. Now, this is my next target, $375 for Zcash.
Mate, isn't it there?
Now, if we can hold, sorry, it's there now. Yes. If it breaks out this one, I've got $470 the next target, which again, it's 25%. But once you get here, and I want to put this to perspective, because once you get to that point, right, $1,000 isn't that hard to achieve. What is it? You're looking at another 111%. I mean, this coin just ran 800% already. It's not much. Right? Perspective is a big thing.
Do you think though, Matty, do you think because it spiked up so quick, so soon, that a bit of a retracement is due?
Hey, like anything, I tell you now, it wouldn't surprise me if this came and crashed back down to $60, right? But at the same time, this thing is on massive FOMO. There's no hope in how I'll touch this with 10-foot pole because of the pump that it's had. And that's just me because of my trading style, my risk appetite.
So, if you were to look for an entry, where would you be looking? Give the guys a bit of actionable insights.
Me personally, I would be looking at each of these levels, 230, 300, see if we close above 375. But even still, this level here will definitely, in my opinion, will get retested, $300. Like once you break out, you typically get the retest. As you've got here, you get the breakout, you get the retest, and I just use them as staircase to heaven, right? With the Fibonacci levels, retest, you break out, you get the retest, you go to the next one, just like clockwork. Okay. That's the way I look at it. So.
But make sure that you are giving some actionable insights for the community, though, Matty. Don't just say, "Oh, your targets." Just like, where do you think we're going? Because put your hands up, or let us know. Put your hands up. Let us know in the chat if you're looking to take some trades on Zcash. Let us know what your targets are. Let's have a look at one more.
That's where I've got pinned next. 470 is my next target for Zcash, anyway.
Just looking at what I'm looking at here on Zcash, one of the biggest things is that the small amount of volume did manage to send it up to 10x, which is absolutely crazy. And I don't think this digital ID trend is going away just yet. I hope it does soon, but I think we still got a little bit more time that we're going to be talking about it. So I don't see that going away anytime soon. But here's a little altcoin gem. Matty, you're going to chart this one up next. This is called FIRO, and FIRO is an alternative for Zcash. Now, even though Zcash is running and it's the privacy layer, you can see that FIRO still is very similar to Zcash. It also is a big privacy coin, but it does give users the option to use private private transfers and to be able to hide your balances versus being just privacy on Zcash. So still a very, very heavy privacy coin, FIRO. And what I like about FIRO is that it still has a $17 million supply. Thing is about FIRO is it's got no, or very insignificant trading volume as to what Zcash had. But if we do go back and we have a look, you can see that the volume on Zcash was still very, very small for quite long periods of time before it came in. So looking at FIRO, this is like an opportunity for me personally. I went ahead and, in full transparency, I bought some of this. But you can see that, it has once been at a very high price of close to $130 odd dollars. And where it is right now, the volume is very, very low. But if this privacy concern narrative starts to run, I think something like FIRO could see a bit of a bullish influx. And once again, just like Zcash, it takes a couple of $1 million worth of buying pressure to come in, and you can see these kind of things do 800%. Is that right, Matty?
Yes, yes. I charted this up earlier before we when
I'll
we
share
were
your screen.
talking about it, you mentioned it. I've got this up at the moment so you guys can have a look. But I was looking at this and I was going, this here is an accumulation on the weekly time frame, right? If you go to the weekly time frame, you can see it between say 89 cents all the way down to 40 cents here, but more so around the 53-cent mark. Price has been accumulating. Now we had this massive breakout. This breakout was about 245%, 255%, right? Now, I'm monitoring this at the moment because, and some of the guys that are watching our YouTube will know this, we've had the breakout, we've had the large pump. Now, I've measured my Fibonacci level off the bottom here, right? That's at 58 cents all the way to the top of the range at $2.06. Now, look at where the breakout retest lines up with the 707 and the 618. So between $1.14 and $1 is where I've got an alert set. You can see there I've got an alert set at 102 because I do think this will come out, come back down, retest this level, and then that's the sort of direction I'll be looking at from there. So just waiting this one out at the moment, Ceds. Good little find, but I think we've got to come down at least from where we are now another 20%. Yeah.
You reckon we'll come back to the bottom of
That's
that
what I'm
range
looking
there
at.
before potentially taking
Right
off?
here,
Yeah.
around $1.03. $1.03, $1.02, I think will be the deepest level we'll get to on this one.
I'll
That's
be
my
looking for some
personal opinion.
entries. Yeah, that's good. I'll be looking for some entries, to accumulate a little bit more. And it's very common when you get those big sideways consolidations that we break out, come back, retest that breakout before heading up. And it does kind of look like, if we do get that pullback on Bitcoin, like we are talking about earlier, that the opportunity for that to happen is definitely there. All right,
It's
let's go
the
to
good
our
old
next
classic
coin.
buy the high, sell the bottom.
That's
People
right.
get caught up in the FOMO buying the breakout.
The next coin that we need to look at is virtuals. Now, virtuals, man, we made a lot of money on this a while ago. We got into this really, really early. Personally, I've sold my bags by now, but I think we're looking at this at around 60-cent mark earlier in Empire. Now at $1.30, but did hit a very big high of $4. But what's so good about virtuals right now? Why is it seeing bullish momentum? So the first thing is they're introducing this new thing, which is called X402. If you don't know what virtuals is, virtuals basically is a protocol where you can buy some of the coin and you can launch your own AI agents in their ecosystem. Thing is, though, their AI agents before were just like little chat GPTs where you could ask questions or it would, put a tweet up on X or based on crypto market research or something like that. It was cool and it was groundbreaking at the time, but it was good. We'll just leave it at that, right? But now what they've come out and done is that now they have started to bring in some really groundbreaking technology. They've gone out and launched a new thing called X402. X402 allows and simplifies standardized payments for AI agents, which means that now those AI agents that they're deploying can be used for real world applications with their very own crypto wallets and allow the AI agents to facilitate payments going through. And you can see a really good example of this is what we're seeing here. Before, an API agent had to request data, the human had to then get that data, the human had to then pay with his credit card to pay for platforms or third-party payment systems, however that looked. But right now, the data can go straight to the AI. The AI will then get that money and transfer it automatically. It's almost like having an AI agent that can automate all of your bills and pay all your bills for you.
What happens if this agent goes on a shopping spree?
Then you're fucked. That's all the word for it.
All of a sudden, the Amazon driver's at your house 24/7.
Yeah, well, you definitely don't want the AI agent to find out about Amazon, or for
I'm
that
getting a
case,
bit concerned because you showed me this robot before that's also an AI, comes to your house, cleans up everything, takes care of your washing, your clothes, the whole works. What happens if that thing's got your wallet as well?
mate, imagine this thing finds out about Timu. You're
That's it.
finished.
It's game over.
Yeah, but the thing, the thing is though, is you transfer that AI agent the amount of money that you want to work with, right? So it'll have its own wallet. You'll be able to transfer it some money, and then it'll be able to do whatever it does. The only thing is, I'm still a bit skeptical about it. Obviously, this is still new tech, but you know, it does raise questions of how do you get that money back? Like, do you just message the AI agent and say, "Hey, transfer me my money back"? Like, what if it turns
Holds
around
it
and says no?
hostage.
Yeah, what if it holds a hostage on you? Then you're kind of stuffed, right? But anyway, so just looking at that in terms of fundamental development of software and how far we're going with all this AI stuff, you can see that it's definitely given a really good response here on virtuals, where we ran from 78 cents all the way to $1.44. And you know, it goes back to the old saying of, you know, all these new crypto things, they're all there, all this new tech, but none of it's being used. And if you look at this right now, it is so new that you're right, you know, maybe it isn't being used, but this actually does have a real world application that could serve not only for us retail, but for many different aspects of like business, for instance. Like maybe one day we could see this X402 replace Stripe, for instance, right? Like it's got that kind of ability to be able to do exactly that. So show us your chart on virtuals, Matty, because definitely one that I'm keeping my eyes on.
So this is a funny one, right? Because I've been monitoring virtuals and I actually didn't know of this fundamental news that it was occurring at all. But if you take a look at this is what we charted up earlier in the week, and you can see we had this big pump on virtuals come in. A lot of selling pressure around that 160 mark, 150-ish. But where I was looking for a pullback now, you can see I've got this yellow zone blocked out. Now that is between 115 and 106. So I've got alerts set there already because I do think price will retrace back to this point and essentially retest this breakout that occurred. Now, this breakout that happened here, that was 100% pump, huge off the bat, massive. But I
Massive.
do think we come back, we retest. This 50 EMA also lines up with a nice little order zone sitting down below here, a few Fibonacci levels, that sort of thing. And again, just give me confirmation of the retest first before you take off, please. I want a little bit more substance before buying into it. So that's where I am looking at. I'm looking deep in around 115, 106, and then see where price goes from there.
You reckon let it come back down? The rocket took off. It's got to stop at the servo, top back up before taking back off, you reckon?
It's only normal. It's only fair, right? You've got to give other people an opportunity to jump into the market too. You can't just take it all for yourself, Mr. Virtuals.
Well,
Imagine,
that's the thing.
imagine
Yeah,
this is the AI assistant buying up with everyone's wallet, pumping the price.
that'd be pretty cool. One important thing to notice as well is after a 100% push, you know, some people they want to take some profits. Like it's completely normal. They've just doubled up on their money. Some people probably take out some of their initial investment or however that may look. So yeah, naturally it does bring in some selling pressure before taking off. But now for the big one. I'm excited to present this to everybody. But if you haven't yet already, smash the like button, hit subscribe, because this news is probably something that you haven't yet heard of just yet. But for a very long time, we have been using the base network on Ethereum. It's Coinbase's very own uh, blockchain network. And for a very long time, for many years, there was rumors that Base was going to launch their very own token. But the issue was that because of all the US regulation, it was very hard for them to do so. Fast forward to where we are now with Trump in power, digital framework regulations all being pushed through in the US. Base and Coinbase have more or less come out and said that they're about to launch a decentralized network for builders, creators, and people pushing the cryptos of crypto native design, pushing the boundaries of crypto native design. And that is all going to be beginning with a new network token. Very, very exciting. Now, for those that haven't used Base before, or for those of you who have used Base before, you will know that Base is probably one of the biggest markets, one of the biggest chains on Ethereum right now. Let's just open up Base and let's see how that's looking. If I click on Base, what you'll notice is that there is about $5 billion locked in DeFi right now. You can see that it's just continuously on an uptrend with lots of money coming into the Base network, but they just don't have their own token just yet. The fact that it's linked to Coinbase as well, one of the biggest crypto exchanges in the US, is really, really big. It has very, very big backing. But the co-founder of Base recently has announced that Base is exploring the launch of a network token, and the rumors are that it's going to happen within 30 days. Now, if you're in Empire, make sure you jump on Sammy's calls on Thursday, because I know that he's been doing some things to prepare you guys in case there's going to be a massive Base airdrop. Okay, so speak with Sammy. If you want access to that, click
How
the
good
link
would
in the
that be?
bio. Yeah, well, you got to look at this. Like, how many big airdrops did Solana do? Right, there was like some $20,000 airdrops, man. Sammy alone, he collected like tens of thousands of dollars based on airdrops, and there could be a massive airdrop coming for Base. Now, thing is with Base is that analysts have said that this Base network could be worth $12 to $34 billion fully diluted value over time. If we go back and we have a look at some of the other ecosystems in Ethereum, so we've got Base, but if we go back and have a look at, say, Optimism, which currently is one of the biggest, you can see that this has a market cap of 745 million, not billion, but 758 million. And if we have a look at how much money is on that, so we go to Optimism, we go OP, Optimism, not Optimism Bridge, where are we? Optimism Foundation. That's not the one I'm looking for. Optimism Chain. Okay, it's not coming up for me for some reason. Also Arbitrum, you know, another really, really big chain on the Ethereum network. Arbitrum, 3.45 billion. And what's that currently valued at? And this is without them being backed being a part, of the Coinbase ecosystem. You see the Arbitrum, $1.6 billion market cap, and that is with, $3.45 billion locked. You have a look at Base, there's over $5 billion locked, and there's no coin. So really want to watch out for the market cap of that when it launches. But I think for it to match Arbitrum's market cap at launch, I don't see that that's unrealistic, given the fact that it is really, really good tech. Base is probably one of the cheapest and quickest networks as well on the Ethereum blockchain. Yeah, it
I remember
transfers.
buying some meme coins on the Base network because they
And
were
how
very
cheap was it?
undervalued. They were
Yeah.
cheap, but there was also it was an area many people weren't playing in, so there was opportunity to get some good tokens and then flip them fast.
Yeah, well, exactly right. So right now I'm watching Brett. I forgot to tell you about to prepare for this one, but I'm watching Brett because that's the biggest, or one of the biggest meme coins on Base. But also, there's a bunch of coins that are part of the Base ecosystem. There is Virtuals, which we spoke about earlier, and then of course Aerodrome, which is the main decentralized exchange for the Base network. So once this token launches, once you got your Base tokens, if you want to go and swap them, where are you going to? You're probably going to use either Coinbase itself, or you're going to use something like Aerodrome. Where Maddie, you said that you purchased meme coins before on Base, right? Did you use Aerodrome to do that?
I actually didn't. I used Dex Screener.
Okay.
I went full degen and jumped onto Dex Screener and pumped them on there because they were meme coins. But I did chart up Aerodrome early on when we were having a chat about it, just have a look at the market and seeing what that looks like.
Well, the ones I'm watching right now are Virtuals, Aerodrome, and there was this Clanker coin. And the Clanker I shared a couple of weeks ago to the Empire Premium community. Yep, and this was a banger. This was an absolute banger. Probably one of the really good calls that I've done in a while. But on spot, which means no leverage. Once again, circulating supply, a very small amount. I told the community about this at $30. It's now at $108. It reached a peak of $120 at one stage. So once again, guys, it pays to be an Empire Premium. Make sure you jump in.
500% push to the top.
Yeah, it was massive, big pump. I know a few people in our community took advantage of that. They managed to clean up on it. And like I said, no leverage was required on this, very small supply. We're not going to go into Clanker today, but I do want you to do some charts on Base and Aerodrome. And just once more, guys, make sure that you're clicking the link in the bio below to get private access so that you can get these announcements before the moves potentially happen. So this was one that we shared 2 weeks ago, and if you were in 2 weeks ago, well, you would have 4 extra money on that trade alone if you decided to take it. But Maddie, go for it.
So I do have Aerodrome up. I charted this one earlier up. We're having a chat about it. I just want to swap my indicators over. But I'm looking at this, and this one here is quite quite straightforward. I didn't have to do too much on this chart. Running the nice trend line, you can see multiple touches, so quite valid in that respect. We had that intersection where prices actually bounced back above, and it's hit at a level of resistance now. So this resistance point's at $1.10. Now, I'm a little bit concerned here because I don't think we're going to punch straight through. And the reason I don't think we're going to punch straight through here is A, we've got a big order zone sitting at the top here, but B, the momentum is also in the over purchased area on the CCI. So what I'm thinking here is that we pull up, we come back, we retest this trend, and maybe consolidate here a little bit. If we get the breakout, I'll look for the retest and then the push, because that there is 17% just between this zone here. That's between 108 and 128 is about 17%. So ideally, you want to see price start to build a bit of momentum before it actually just tries to punch through without any real substance. Because I think it's going to struggle just to go straight through there at the moment. I think we're going to consolidate here a little bit and then go for the next leg up. And you can see we're sort of starting to tap out on this front. So wait this one out a bit, get the retest on the daily, and then hopefully get the next leg up for AERO. That's what I'll be watching for on this one. Mate, 17%. You'd be able to be happy with that in the current environment. So
it just goes back to what you're saying before, just in and outs for now until we get a bit more, a bullish catalyst in the market to really give us that big push, right?
Yeah, 100%, mate. That's exactly what I'm looking at. It's not a game where you need to go ahead and make your 10, I feel this is my generational wealth trade. I'm going to go all the way to the moon or else it's game over. You constantly chip away at this game. Financial markets are the game where if you protect your capital, if you play it smart, you do it safely, then it's longevity. That's what you're going after, not the, oh my God, I need to make it all in this bull market or else it's game over for me. So
that's right, guys.
Take it easy.
Yeah.
Play it safe.
Now, just before we wrap it up, I do just want to show you guys something that we are currently testing that we are going to be giving everyone access to, and that is the Empire
It's a
terminal.
big one.
Actually, you know what? I'm going to share it next week because there is a couple more bugs in it. So make sure you tuned on next week. Yeah. Sorry, I didn't want to give you that little bit of a that's like going to the brothel and getting a massage right there. And we'll show the guys next week. So make sure that you are subscribed. Put the notification bell on. But Matty, that's it for today's call, right?
Thank you very much, guys. I think that was awesome. I hope you guys got a lot of value out of it. We'll see you next Friday for another big one. And exciting times ahead for Empire because we, like I said, we've got this amazing tool on the punch out right now. Everything is coming together, and I'm hoping that this will all be rolled out within the next. I'm not going to put a timeline because I think it's going to happen soon. And I don't want to jinx it.
Don't jinx it. It's a big update. It's going to help you guys to be on top of the market every 4 hours. It's going to show you what coin's pumping and why, and what predictions of other fundamental news is going to move the market and how. So just get excited for that. We'll showcase that to you guys next Friday. Have a great weekend. For those of you in Melbourne, bet safely on the Melbourne Cup. And I will see you guys next Friday. Have a good one. Bye for now.
Thanks, everyone. See ya.
See yous.